As you know by now, JR has been shot, and we've slowly, very slowly, been weeding out suspects. Not only that, but JR is still in surgery, with his ability to walk hanging in the balance. Sue Ellen is experiencing a night terror loud enough to wake all of South Fork. But that's not nearly as frightening as Miss Ellie darkening the doorway, looking like Norma Bates in silhouette. Nothing nefarious though, Miss Ellie is just waking her up to get her out of her nightmare. She also makes Sue Ellen promise to go back to Dr. Albee. Huh, I thought she wanted the nightmares to stop. At the hospital, Jordan Leigh sneaks into JR's room to taunt him.
Real shame, isn't it? Figure someone's gonna shoot you, they do it right.
JR is livid that the goofy guard duo let Jordan anywhere near him. At a very windy breakfast, Bobby promises to take Pam to lunch, but as we learn, he's been breaking a lot of promises lately. Pam seems to think that Bobby is getting in too deep to the oil business. Elsewhere, Cliff Barnes has been suspended for all intents and purposes until we can figure out what's going on. Cliff confides in Pam that he needs to leave town and just start over. The town, and more specifically the Ewings, drove him so crazy that he actually did show up at Ewing Oil to shoot JR. But someone beat him to it. JR is grouchy about everything. He's mad at the guards, he's mad at the surgeons, he's mad at Sue Ellen. Of course, what he's really mad at is his own feeling of helplessness. Ray Krebbs arrives to make up with JR and put the past behind them. He offers to be there for whatever JR needs, but JR refuses to need anything. That's too bad, because people who need people, they're the luckiest people in the world. Meanwhile, Bobby is getting the runaround from their business partners, so he threatens to come to the office in person. His banker refuses to deal with him because they're used to dealing with JR, so Bobby threatens to take the Ewing accounts away from them. At Dr. Albee's, Sue Ellen describes a dream in which she's chased down a long hallway and she's trying to get to the door where she'll finally be free. When she gets there, though, JR is blocking her path, until she shoots him. I know what you're thinking. Sue Ellen being stifled by a long, narrow structure and trying to find comfort in a hole? It sounds pretty gay from a Freudian standpoint. But Freud actually thought of doorways as a threshold between the conscious and unconscious mind, which would be like the only thing he didn't equate with genitals. Lucy, who was seduced by her skeevy married professor, confronts him on the quad in front of bystanders. He doesn't seem to appreciate that, but at least we get closure from that filler storyline. You know, why can't she just meet a handsome doctor? Anyway, med student Mitch Cooper tracks her down to apologize for blowing her off when she asked him out. He buys her a drink to make up for turning her down before. During their talk, he rightly describes himself as uninteresting, but he does mention having a sister named Afton. Sorry, that must be a glitch in the file. Anyway, he has a sister named Afton. Okay, so I guess this is what we're doing. Mitch mentions coming from Po folk, so he buckled down and powered through to get to college. Lucy appreciates his authenticity and envies him for carving out his own identity, something she'll try for herself in season 8.
Yeah, I guess I have been pretty fortunate. But we can still be friends, can't we?
Friends.
Come on. They do make an awfully cute couple. Physical therapy is going well, but the elder Ewings can't even look at JR being so weak. It turns out that Franklin Horner has been working with JR this whole time to stall Bobby, and now he's between a rock and a hard place because JR also threatens to pull Ewing Oil's accounts if Horner does deal with Bobby. Sue Ellen runs into Kristen, who promises to be on her side from now on. She sends Kristen up to see JR to take his mind off his troubles, which is kind of how this all started in the first place. Instead, Kristen adds to his troubles by taunting him with the fact that he's not man enough to please her or destroy her anymore. This frustrates JR to no end. Frank Horner isn't the only one who's caught in the middle. Their equipment manager is also getting bounced back and forth between the Ewing brothers. Bobby darts out to fix things, completely forgetting about Pam and their lunch date. That's okay though, because Pam hooks up with Liz Craig from the store again, and the two go to lunch. You may recall that JR used his connections to get Liz shipped out of Dallas so that Pam could be installed as the new head of the store. Then Pam quit the store after it caused a rift between Bobby and her, and also her father died. She had a lot going on, it seems. Liz admits that she's sleeping with the store's owner, Harrison Page, and he told her all about JR's scheme when they were in bed together. Seems Harrison is still upset about the Asian oil well scam. Liz also offers Pam her old job back, resetting everything to mid-season 3 for Pam. Bobby storms over to the hospital to confront JR about sabotaging him. JR, of course, denies it, telling him that they're brothers and JR would never do anything to hurt him. His grin shows little sincerity, though. Mitch and Lucy are working out swimmingly, despite his busy schedule. Lucy even tells Ray about him. She promises not to let Mitch get away, but as soon as she says that, Mitch gets pulled away again. I'm sensing a theme in this episode. In a spiffy little twofer moment, Sue Ellen arrives at the hospital only to find out that JR gets to go home. But she's upset that he called Jock and Ellie to bring him a change of clothes instead of calling her to do it. It seems like there's a subtle, unspoken mistrust JR has for Sue Ellen. And with good reason, because the other thing calling Jock and Ellie does is have them search through JR and Sue Ellen's bedroom, where Jock finds JR's gun. And it's been fired twice. Jock tells the police a bold-faced lie when he says he tried not to get fingerprints all over the gun. White House interns had fewer fingerprints on them in the 1990s. Jock thinks this is proof that Sue Ellen shot JR, but Miss Ellie thinks that's too easy of an explanation.
But why would anyone hide it there, of all places?
Pam shows up to get Bobby for lunch, but there are papers to be signed and they absolutely positively have to be there overnight. So, no lunch for Pamby. Back at the ranch, JR arrives home again, still being tentative about Sue Ellen. Miss Ellie is also reluctant to leave Sue Ellen alone with JR. I think Ellie prefers instead to have JR break his neck getting up to that second floor bedroom rather than staying on the ground floor while he's in a wheelchair. The family enjoys a drink in the parlor until Detective Horton returns and confirms that, yes, JR's gun was used in the shooting. And they found prints.
Was he in a little red Corvette?
Under the cherry moon.
Fingerprints.
They're Sue Ellen Ewing's prints. And we're out. And that's how we all found out that Sue Ellen was definitely the shooter. Jock was right all along. Absolutely no one else could have planted that gun. I guess the next episode will just be her pleading guilty and hauled off to jail. Whenever I rewatch this episode, I always hope from the title that it will be more about Sue Ellen's experience than it actually is. The nightmare of the title happens in the opening, but it could have focused on Sue Ellen and her inner turmoil all the way through the episode. Instead, the episode gets loaded with a lot of ensemble drama. Lucy has an arc, Bobby has an arc, Pam has an arc. JR, of course, gets his recovery arc after the fallout from the surgery seemed to happen off-screen. Not that I don't like any of the story arcs here, it's just a lot when the episode could have used a breather. At least we turn back to what Dallas does best: melodrama and motif.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
In this case, we have two women experiencing the same problem. Men who prioritize their jobs over their love lives. Mitch we can understand, but Bobby is more infuriating because he's literally describing what a shitty husband he's becoming as he's doing it.
Pam.
Bobby is just the worst sometimes. Which would be fine, but when he's the worst, the laws of physics require Pamela to have an equal and opposite reaction, and her storylines go off the rails. Yeah, buckle up. This isn't a great year for Pamby. It's also going to be one hell of a roller coaster ride for Sue Ellen, who is obviously starting at a low point, believing that she shot her husband in a drunken stupor, and then having those suspicions confirmed when the detective shows up with the gun at the end of this episode. And all the while, she has the mixed emotions of JR, whom she still loves, having survived the shooting. And that's not even the half of it. Anyway, as this storyline rolls to a close, it's clear that what started as a cultural phenomenon hit the skids thanks to Hagman's holdout and the labor issues when they tried to stick the landing. It would have been so much more compelling to stick with the investigation for these episodes. Instead, we're already introducing Pam and Bobby drama and paying off two Lucy love life storylines. Those things probably could have waited until after the reveal. As it is, they just come off as noise.